You know how the weather in early spring can be just chaotic? One minute it's totally fine, and the next, bam, you've got gale force winds and a sudden downpour. Well, what if I told you that wasn't random at all? What if it's actually the result of an annual feud between two incredibly powerful and, honestly, kind of petty gods?
Right? I mean, if you've ever been in Taiwan or southern China around springtime, you know exactly what I'm talking about. The weather just cannot make up its mind. It gets windy, then it gets rainy, then it's both at the same time. It feels completely random. But what if there's a story behind it?
Yep, you heard that right. The legend says this isn't about meteorology. Not really. It's the annual fallout from a celestial squabble, a divine grudge match between two major deities who, for all their immense power, act remarkably human when their pride gets a little bruised.
Okay, so to really get this whole feud, you gotta meet the two main players. Now, on the surface, they're both these revered, super powerful figures. But their personalities? Oh yeah, that's where the trouble starts.
So first up, you've got Bao Sheng Dadi, the god of medicine. Think of him as the ultimate celestial doctor. He's brilliant, he's respected, he rides a crane, which is pretty cool, but he's also maybe a little too aware of how brilliant he is. And on the other side, the beloved Ma Zu, goddess of the sea. She's compassionate, adored by sailors, but don't let that fool you. Underneath it all, she has a will as strong as the tide she commands.
So the story goes, one day these two deities cross paths up in the heavens. Bao Sheng Dadi sees the graceful Ma Zu and is just completely smitten. And he gets an idea, a very practical, very logical idea, at least in his mind.
He goes up to her with what he thinks is the perfect proposal. And I mean, listen to it. From a purely logical standpoint, it's a great idea, right? A divine power couple. He's the god of medicine, she commands the seas. He sees it as this perfect merger to help humanity even more. In his mind, there's no way she could possibly say no to that.
But Ma Zu has other plans. She very politely but also very firmly turns him down flat. She explains that she's taken a sacred vow to never marry and to dedicate her entire existence to protecting people at sea. Her duty comes first. Period.
And this is where it all goes sideways. You have to understand, Bao Sheng Dadi is a top-tier god. He is not used to hearing the word no. So this rejection, it doesn't just sting his pride, it completely shatters it. He feels totally humiliated. And right there, in that one moment of a wounded ego, a petty, centuries-long grudge is born. He basically decides, fine, if I can't have her as a wife, I'll have her as a rival.
Now this grudge doesn't turn into some epic world-ending battle. Oh no. It becomes something way more entertaining. An annual series of divine practical jokes, all timed perfectly to ruin each other's birthday parties.
So here's the play-by-play of their divine pettiness. Every single year on March 23rd, which is Ma Zu's birthday, right when she's looking all regal for her celebrations, Bao Sheng Dadi summons a furious gust of wind. Why? Just to blow her crown off and mess up her dress. It's such a power move. But Ma Zu? She is no pushover. She just waits for his birthday on March 15th, and then, whoosh, she calls down a personal rainstorm right on top of his parade, washing all that fancy ceremonial makeup right off his face. It's literally the divine version of a food fight.
And here's the brilliant part. Their feud became the perfect explanation for the weird spring weather. People started using this saying, Bao Sheng Dadi's wind, Ma Zu's rain. It became total cultural shorthand. If it got super windy around his birthday, everyone would just nod and say, Bao Sheng Dadi's up to his old tricks. If it was rainy around hers, yep, Ma Zu's getting her revenge. The myth literally became the weather forecast.
But wait, this is where the story takes a really fascinating turn. Because for all their bickering and all their pranks, this rivalry has a surprisingly helpful side. When their followers were faced with a real serious crisis, their feud transformed into something else. So according to one version of the story, there came a year when things were just awful. A terrible drought had scorched the earth, leaving the fields totally barren. And right after that, a horrific plague swept through the population. People were desperate. And in the face of all this suffering, their little feud just vanishes. Without a single word spoken between them, they start acting in perfect sync. Ma Zu brings the desperately needed rain from the sea to end the drought. And as her rain begins to fall, Bao Sheng Dadi infuses every single drop with his divine medicine. Just think about that for a second. The same storm that saves the crops also cures the plague. It's a perfect, unspoken, divine team-up.
Of course, the people on the ground see all this happening. They feel the wind that comes before the storm, and then they feel the life-giving rain. And they have this incredible revelation. They realize, wait a minute, this isn't a fight, this is salvation. They understood that the wind and the rain were actually working together to save them.
So, what's the real point of this amazing story? I mean, why is it still being told, generation after generation? Well, it turns out it's about so much more than just explaining the weather.
This legend has stuck around because it just works on so many levels. For one, yeah, it's a great way to remember the spring weather patterns. But it's so much deeper than that. It makes these larger-than-life gods feel, well, human. They have egos, they hold grudges, just like us. And ultimately, it teaches this beautiful lesson about balance. The two opposing forces, like wind and rain, or even two bickering rivals, can actually come together to create something life-giving. It just shows a culture with this incredible sense of humor and a deep understanding that sometimes even conflict can lead to harmony.
So, the next time you're outside and your hair gets all blown around by a sudden gust of wind, or you get caught in an unexpected spring shower, maybe don't get too annoyed. Instead, just for a second, picture these two powerful ancient deities up in the clouds, continuing their centuries-long tradition of bickering and trying to one-up each other.
It really leaves you with one last question, doesn't it? The next time that spring storm rolls in, what are you really seeing? Is it just a change in the weather? Is it the petty fallout from a divine feud? Or is it a perfectly coordinated blessing in disguise?